Hello, everyone. In this video lecture, we're going to take a last look at some of the examples that they have in the text and in the slides, and we're going to work through them and show you what they look like in Excel. Okay, so let's take a look at this. In these two examples, we have 5%, which is 5 times 1/100th, or 5 divided by 100, and 3%. Let's take a look at what these will look like in Excel. So over here, we've created a formula. And formulas, generally, you can just go right in and start them with the equal sign. And then it's 5 slash, meaning the slash right under the question mark, 100. And then that gives you this value right here, 0.05. If we want that in percents, as some examples in the book will ask you, can do is a couple things. You can select the cell, click on the percent, and it's 5%. The other thing you can do, which is even more useful in my opinion, is you can format the cells. So you can select the cells you want to format and percentage, and then this is the decimal places that we talked about. If you want it to go out to 2, you can notice how that changes. And that's what will be displayed there. Let's try this with 3%. And again, we're going to go equals number 3 slash for division 100 and that. So if we wanted to make that into percentage, get them both to look the same way, we can format them like so. And notice the 2 zeros become visible. And notice here we have the percent signs. These have the same value. 76% is the same as 0.76. 105% is 1.05, right? And sometimes you'll see a 0 placed, as we talked about earlier. The 0 to draw attention to the fact that there's a decimal point, 0.04. A ratio is basically a relationship of one quantity to another. And so basically, we're looking at dividing one quantity by another. And it can either be greater than 1 or less than 1. So if we have 7 men and 5 women in a class, the ratio would be 7 to 5, or 7:5. Normally, we just say 7 to 5. And ratios we want to have simplified, in other words, with the lowest common denominator. So in other words, there's no common factors. So if we had, say, the same example, we had 6 men and 10 women in a class, the ratio is 6 to 10, but we have some common factors of 2, some common denominators, if you will. So you have to divide each number by 2, and then you get 3 to 5. And there are no common denominators in 3 and 5, so that's as simple as it gets. And a proportion is similar to some things we've talked about. It's a fraction, so x is a portion of the whole, x and y. So in other words, you could think of x as the numerator, right? And the denominator would be x plus y. So in the example here, if 2 women out of a group of 10 women who are over 50 have had cancer, and y is 8, the proportion is 2 divided by the denominator, 2 plus 8. which would give us 0.2. Let's take a look at that in Excel. Okay, so in our example again, equals for the formula, 2, divide. Then we're going to use the parentheses just like we did in algebra. 2 plus 8, close parentheses, enter. And we get 20%. We could also reformat that as it did in the example. Make it a number. And that's where we are. And a rate is a ratio where there's a distinct relationship between the numerator and the denominator. And the denominator is a large base population. And a basic rule of thumb when we're calculating a rate is to indicate the number of times something has happened in relation to the number of times that something could have happened. And we see a lot of this in terms of autopsy rates, mortality rates, all different types of things. So it's going to be an important thing to keep in mind as we look at rates. Anything with a rate, remember this. It's the numerator is going to be the number of times something happened divided by the number of times something could have happened. So if we had 10 out of 35 patients visiting a physician's office and they got a vaccine, what would the vaccine rate be? Well, let's start with what we know. 10 got vaccinated. 35 visited. So basically the rate's going to be 10 over 35. Let's take a look at what that looks like in Excel. .29 in percent, 29%. I hope you found that useful. Let's take a look at a couple of other quick things on Excel. An average is a measure of central tendency. And it's basically the number that's obtained by dividing the sum of a set of numbers by the number of values, or as some people say, observations. It's the same thing as the mean. So in this case, we have students who take 6 tests in a particular class, and the scores are 82, 78, 94, 56, 91, and 85. When we add these together, they equal 486. 486 divided by 6 is 81. Therefore, the student's average score is 81. Found that useful? Please stop by office hours if you have any questions. Thank you.